Thanks. Let's see, do we have everyone present? I believe we do have a quorum. All right, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. And I'm going to ask our esteemed mayor to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hey, let's pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor. Solicitor Gibbs, do you have a disclosure about the recording?
Good evening, everyone. Pursuant to the governor's emergency declaration, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to get to say that, this meeting is being held via Zoom. As such, it is being recorded. Your participation and attendance in this meeting is your consent to be recorded.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Secretary, please proceed with roll call, beginning with our esteemed mayor.
Mayor Hopkins.
Present.
President Monroe.
Present.
Vice President Francis.
Present.
Councilor Johnson.
Here.
Councilor Cave.
Everybody, I'm here.
Councilor McCabe. Councilor Jones Waters. Councilor Jones Waters. Councilor Roquab.
Here.
Solicitor Gibbs.
Present.
Ms. James said she would not be able to attend tonight's call, and Mr. Nichols will be filling in for her report. Ms. Mulvana?
Here. You want me to try to get it off mute? Is that what you're doing?
No, I got it.
They called your name.
I know. Yeah, you have a mic thing.
McCabe? Councilor McCabe, we're doing roll call.
I know. I didn't have a mic at the time that she called me. For some reason, I always start out with no mic.
Dr. McCabe is present. Mr. Nichols?
Present.
And back to Councilor Jones Waters.
Have we checked the participants area to make sure that she's not still there?
She's not there.
Thank you. If that concludes roll call, Mr. Gibbs, can you explain how the citizens forum would work?
This is the time for citizens forum. There's a time limit for 3 minutes. In the comment section, if you could raise your hand or indicate that you wish to speak, you'll be recognized in turn. Ms. Stevens will recognize people.
Ms. Stevens, do we have anyone wishing to speak for citizens forum? I see something popped up from Mary.
Yes,
Not sure if
there's
that's
Mary
Mary.
Garrell.
Yes. Okay, can we bring her over?
She should be able to
Ms.
speak
Burrell,
now.
yourself?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to know, are residents still required to move their cars for street cleaning? Because I've noticed that on my block, when the truck comes through to clean, a lot of cars are still there, and it does not appear that there is ticketing going on.
I have seen the parking enforcement officer ticketing on my street and several others as I leave in the morning at that time. So we are still required to move. I guess if we could have the chief in contact with the parking enforcement. I know that we're down a few officers, so it may take a little longer to get around the neighborhood. But yes, they are still required to move.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else
Linda
wishing to?
Laws? I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Linda Laws, please. Ms. Laws, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. My name is Linda Laws, and I'm on the Yeadon Public Library Board of Trustees. I've been on the board since 2011, and I've served in a capacity as a member, as a secretary, vice president, and was elected as president in January 2020. Thank you for allowing me to address you this evening. Dear Council President Latoya Monroe, we believe the communication you posted on April 30th on the Yeadon Borough website and Nextdoor Yeadon defamed the character of both the staff and library board. The misinformation you posted paints us all with a broad brush of discrimination, bullying, and harassment without any investigation. The library board and the library staff have been disrespected. No one from council or borough management has even had a conversation with us. We do not even know the full details of these allegations. First, we believe posting this information on these two sites was inappropriate. It shows your lack of leadership skills and your lack of integrity, and is contrary to Yeadon's core principles that are the bedrock of our borough. Your diatribe brought shame and embarrassment to our community. The community is left without a library director and an assistant director. This personnel void strips the community of the management and administrative oversight required to continue to provide services and programs offered by the library staff, even while navigating a pandemic. The business of the library has always been to foster a culture of diversity, education, and inclusion. Shame on you. The Yeadon Public Library Board of Trustees.
All right, thank you, Ms. Laws. Given that this is personnel matters, this isn't something that we'll discuss in public. We are being led by our solicitor, who is advising us on the legality. And I assure you that we would not post anything that contained any falsehoods. But thank you for your comment, and are there any other citizens wishing to speak?
I actually have a question with respect to that statement.
So right now we're in Citizens Forum, Councilor Rowe-Cloud.
Any other citizens wishing to speak?
We have Lauren Footman.
Okay, Ms. Stevens, as they complete their 3 minutes, can we move them back to from panelists
Okay.
to attendee? Thank you. All right, Ms. Footman, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Laws, for your commentary. I would just go on to say that I definitely think that statement, I understand Mr. Gibbs, and thank you for his legal advice. That statement, the haste in which it perceived that it was written, I think definitely did not take into account the ripple effects of having such a unfortunate claim be made, and then the statement having to be taken down for whatever reason. I'm not, of course, able to speak to why it was taken down. And so what I would just hope moving forward, that the borough would have a formal process to adequately address human resource issues, whether it's with the borough, whether it's with tangentially with current elected officials. I've just seen in recent months when there have been conversations in other forums, whether it's been this discrimination case, whether it's been things around previous allegations of sexual misconduct and harassment, that it has always often felt that the human resource procedures within the borough seem to not maybe be up to par. So I would just implore that at some point that there is an appropriate forum where residents can be educated on the adequate human resource protocols within the borough, especially when they could potentially lead to lawsuits that, of course, then could fall on the responsibility as the residents to pay. So I would just hope moving forward that issues such as this are handled more appropriately with more transparency, and that there is an appropriate forum for us to better understand how human resource issues such as this and others are appropriately addressed within the context of the borough. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens wishing to speak? All right, hearing none, we will move on from our citizens forum to our mayor's report. Mayor Hopkins.
I did indicate that I would like to make a statement with respect to the Ms. Law's statement that she just read.
So, Councilor Roadcloud, as you know, Citizens Forum is an opportunity for citizens to speak. They have a limited time, and we are moving on to our mayor's report since there are no additional citizens who are wishing to speak.
Well,
this isn't a comment
I'm
section.
a counselor, and this is a caucus meeting, and I do have the right to speak if I wish to speak.
Okay, well,
are you trying to deny me my right to speak?
You are speaking out of turn.
No, you're speaking.
And we are moving to our citizens forum.
I would like
as
to
I am charged to maintain Councilor Jones Waters and Councilor Roadcloud. Councilor Jones Waters and Councilor Roadcloud.
You're elected to this office. You have every right to speak.
Councilor Jones Waters, this is your first warning.
Oh,
You're
please,
speaking
go
out of
ahead with that.
turn.
Go ahead with that. You're so ignorant and unprofessional.
Okay, so I'm going to ask that Councilor Road, I'm going to ask
thank you for speaking
that Councilor Roadcloud and Councilor Jones Water be muted for the meeting, and they can raise their hands when they're wishing to speak, because we are observing Robert's rules of order.
In a caucus call, do not mute me. You're ignorant, and you're not following protocol.
So you are in violation of the rules of council.
You are ignorant. You're in violation with your lying self.
Okay, so I'm going to ask that whoever in control of the mute button, please continue to mute them for the remainder of the meeting, or they're going to be demoted from a panelist. Thank you. We're moving on to our mayor's report. Mayor Hopkins.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a couple of, my report stands as submitted. I do want to underscore a couple of things. We did have a citizens forum on March 4th, and the next one's June 3rd. It resulted, we had the county council, Kevin Madden, attend with the county health advisor, Dr. Lisa Mahoney, and that resulted in a series of not only us getting the health center, but ramping up the vaccines in earnest for first our seniors, and then special Yeadon days for Yeadonites. And I'm pleased to report that the county just gave us the amount of Yeadonites vaccinated. It was 1,931, just about 2,000 in the county sites. The lion's share of those were at the Yeadon Wellness Center. So we had 2,000 residents vaccinated at these sites, and then that doesn't include other places nearby, like the drive-through at the Mercy Fitzgerald site on Wycombe Avenue. So right now, the vaccine, the supply has outstripped the demand, thankfully. So anyone who wants a vaccine really can get one. And also, I heard the press conference of President Biden at 4 p.m. this evening, stating that because of the success nationwide of the vaccines, everyone that has been receive their doses, their full dose, whether it's a 1-dose J&J or 2-dose Moderna, Pfizer, or whatever, no longer have to wear masks. So I don't know how that's going to be policed. I know that in public transportation, everybody still has to wear masks in public transit. But other than that, the CDC said if you have been vaccinated, fully vaccinated, and have waited the required 2 weeks after your last dose, there's no longer a requirement to wear masks. I do want to report that I took part in a press conference on Monday, this past Monday. I'll let the chief speak more about that. The community police love park that was where we had a groundbreaking ceremony. It was nicely attended. We got good press out of it. And I just want to thank the chief for that initiative. Won't steal his thunder. I'll allow him to give a full report on that when it's your turn, Chief. Okay. We do want to report that again, the Nile Swim Club. We wrote letters. I wrote a letter in support of that. Other people, the Historical Commission wrote letters petitioning the state to recognize the Nile Swim Club as a historical landmark in the state, and that was successful. So there's going to be a nice ceremony at the site of the Nile a week from Saturday, May 22nd at 10 o'clock, where there's going to be a ceremony with that distinction, recognizing the Nile as a national landmark, historical landmark in Pennsylvania. So that's a great distinction. We have Children's Awareness Week, May 2nd through May 8th. That was recognized with a proclamation. And also the mayor is hosting a senior expo this Saturday, May 15th from 11 to 4 p.m. at the site of the old Citizens Bank parking lot. And there'll be a lot of vendors for seniors on site on Saturday. There ends my report, Madam President.
Madam President, I have a question regarding the mayor's report, if I may.
Councilor Cave, thank you.
Hey, Mayor, how are you? Thanks for the report. Quick question: Do you anticipate Yeadon staying in step with CDC's mask guidance in the places under our purview, like for example, like Borough Hall, or do you think we'll have a stricter recommendation at least until numbers look a little bit better in Yeadon? I know Yeadon's done relatively well lately, but what are your thoughts there?
That's a good question. And it's a situation where each municipality has not caught up to the new realities of this brand new CDC announcement that was made just hours ago. But I would caution, and I did see some things on the news where some municipalities or some preliminary reports have municipalities in some states kind of erring on the side of caution. And I would take that tact as well before we totally eradicate mask wearing. And it's something we have to discuss with Borough President, the solicitor. So, I don't want to give you anything premature, but since you asked me, my opinion is that we err on the side of caution until such time that we think it's totally safe to do so, to go maskless. The other sticky wicket in this is that we don't know who's really been vaccinated. How do you how do people determine, anyone could say they're vaccinated. So there's got to be a process that we put in place to determine that. So until we get all those wrinkles ironed out, I would caution that we take it slow and not eradicate totally mask wearing until we get those things in place.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. So we will move on to our manager's report at this time.
Good evening. The items handled since the last report is that we have an announcement for Public Schools for Children and Youth is celebrating the work of Mary Nixon in relation to what the organization does collectively for kids and families in our region. She is being honored as one of their health heroes for 2021 for the work she has done over the years. Congratulations, Mrs. Nixon. The department head meeting was held on 4/22. Several ideas were discussed and shared between the departments and with NDI. For example, the location for the love gardens and potential changes for the borough parking lot. Yes, that's right. You've heard correctly. There will be more than one garden, so stay tuned. The annual harassment, sensitivity, and customer service training was held on 4/30. Borough management attended the monthly meeting with NDI on 5/7 to discuss the borough's projects. One of the topics discussed included the National Fitness Campaign and the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, which is known as the DCNR grant for the Yeadon Community Park. Further updates on these and other matters will be provided during the engineer's report. 3 of the code officers, including Director Stokes, attended property maintenance training on May 10th, and the borough received the watershed certificate for the library's rain garden, and the Public Works Department installed it. The audit for the 2019 liquid fuels tax fund is complete, and there were no findings. Great news. Items in progress. Management is in the process of obtaining funding for the National Fitness Campaign Court. People seem excited to be a part of this venture, so hopefully the money will be coming in shortly. There will be a Zoom meeting open to the public about the Eastern Delco Bikeway Prioritization submitted by the Transportation and Community Development Initiative, which is also known as TCDI. This meeting will occur on May 25th. Time has not been determined, but is likely to be 7 p.m. This is an effort by the municipalities involved to get feedback from the community about the bikeway. Once available, the link will be posted on the borough's website. So if you're interested in providing your input, please look out for that and attend that meeting. Items to be addressed. The owners of the lot at the end of 2nd Street between the railroad and Forest Creek Apartments followed up to see if the borough had any interest in the land or any ideas for it. Please be reminded that we are and caucus meetings are generally suspended in June, July, and August. That concludes my report.
Thank you. You cut out for a moment.
President.
Madam
President.
Ms. Johnson, can I ask a question real quick and then I'll get you next? So
Yes.
You cut out for a bit when you said that the training that was received earlier, it wasn't not the code training, but the borough training.
Oh, the annual harassment, sensitivity, and customer service training. So that's training that we do through our insurance company. Management assessment through the insurance company, Nikki. So we had that training on April 30th with the staff.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Johnson?
Yes, I'd like to know if I can ask the borough manager a question.
Thank you.
Miranda, how are we doing with the shade tree letter that should be sent out to the residents? Is that prepared and ready to go at least by the end of this month?
So we just need to know how council wants to treat the shade trees this year. So we have a letter, we have the letter from last year. We just need to know whether or not the residents are going to be responsible for what parts of the shade tree removal.
Okay, so let's have that ready for caucus meeting if there's a vote that's required. That way we can finalize the letter and at next week's meeting. Does that work for you, Councilor Johnson?
Yes, it does. Is it possible that I can actually get a copy so that I can read the letter? Could you send me a copy of what was sent out last year?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Yep.
I think you meant legislative, Madam President.
Yes, I'm sorry, at our legislative meeting next week. Thank you, Councilor Katie. We will move on to our.
I have a question for management.
Councilor Roadcloud.
Good evening, management.
Good evening.
I have 2 issues here. The lack of notice involving certain borough events. It's my understanding that a few events has taken place and myself personally was not invited. I didn't know anything about it. So I'm wondering who's responsible for making sure that all counselors receive the same information with respect to anything that's happening within the borough involving the borough.
Is there a specific, is there a specific
Yeah,
event
it
that
is.
you're
It is.
referencing?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So the Garden of Love event. So I learned of the event through Nextdoor. And I already submitted my name as being one of the people that was going to go and help seed. But when I got there, I noticed lights, cameras, journalists, and the mayor was in his suit, his Sunday's best. You were dressed. And the only other counselor that I saw was Counselor Francis. And I was just a little confused because all council was not there for this ribbon cutting. I didn't know it was going to be a ribbon cutting. I just thought we was just going to go and plan. I came in some sweatpants. So if lights, cameras, and action was going to be there and there was going to be a whole to-do about it, why didn't everyone know about it? This isn't the first time that I personally have been left out. And I'm sure this won't be the last time before December 31st, 2021. But whoever is responsible for advising the council of what's happening and making sure everyone gets the appropriate invitations, that's exactly what should happen. I don't understand who gets to pick and choose who attends what.
So Councilor Francis, are you available?
Yeah, Madam President, I just want to say one thing. I was not informed. I learned the same way you learned through Nextdoor. My wife informed me about it, and we showed up. If you notice, I was in jeans. I didn't know there was going to be lights, camera, and action either. I just came to support the chief.
Okay, so
Councilor
came
Rocloud,
to support it. You came to
Councilor
support
Rocloud, excuse me, Councilor Rocloud. I called on Mr. Francis because I also wanted to know how he found out about the event. I found out about the event on Nextdoor as well. I believe that the chief called the mayor as the figurehead of our borough and the leader of our community to be present. I was there to support. I didn't receive an individual invitation. So I don't believe that this was
that only 2 people were dressed up and ready for the event. So I was a little confused.
So Councilor Rocloud, my work day requires that I wear appropriate attire, and I was dressed as coming from the middle of my work day.
I usually see you in a hoodie for the daycare, but
you don't usually see me.
So,
but thank you.
Well, my second issue, please, is I did report earlier this week that a certain individual is using tax dollars to help fund their campaign. And I need to know.
Councilor Rocloud,
wait a minute. I want to know.
This is not a place. You cannot make allegations.
Misappropriation of funds.
Councilor Rocloud, I am going to stop you right there.
Misappropriation of funds.
Councilor Rocloud, since she is not able to follow the rules of order. Please mute Councilor Jones Waters if she continues to speak.
I suggest you don't mute anyone.
Will not.
I suggest
you are not permitted. Council, we are to keep order in this meeting. We are to keep order in this meeting, and you are not permitted to make accusations and allegations on this floor and disrespect this community. That is not permissible. It is against the rules of. Please mute Councilor Rocloud and please mute Councilor Jones Waters. Please mute Councilor Jones Waters. We will keep order in this meeting. We will not make accusations to one another on the floor. We will not name call. Please mute Councilor Rocloud. Please mute Councilor Jones Waters. And if they continue, I am going to ask that they be demoted from panelists because they are continually disrupting the meeting. This is appropriate if we were meeting in person. This is appropriate, and if we were meeting in person, we could ask that they be removed from the floor. Please respect the rules of
say
council.
the same thing,
Please
and no one better
respect
not.
our community. Councilor Jones Waters, this is your final warning before you will be demoted from panelists and have to raise your hand. Thank you very much. We are not permitted to make, please take a moment to demote Councilor Jones Waters from a panelist. We need to, if we are going to keep order and respect our community, we cannot have these types of outbursts.
Where's the solicitor?
So please,
because you can't demote no one. Where's the solicitor?
In the rules of council, if you
Where's
are
the solicitor?
Removed from the meeting. Councilor Roadcloud, this is your final warning as well. If you continue to talk out of turn and make allegations on this floor disrespecting this community, then you will be removed as well.
Who you think you talking
So
about? I'm confused.
I'm going to ask that Councilor Roadcloud be demoted from a panelist. We'll move on now to the president's report. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge where we are within this pandemic and acknowledge the hard work that our mayor and public safety committee have done to make sure that we got through the way that we did. Our community came through this pandemic in a much better condition than many others. We had the ear of County Council from the very beginning, sending out a letter acknowledging where we are is something that the community deserves. Having a letter come from our mayor is not at all anything inappropriate. We, at the beginning of this pandemic, during the middle of this pandemic, and as we're closing out this pandemic, it is not uncommon, it is not inappropriate for our mayor to send a letter addressing our community. We're going to move on from this. Next up is our solicitor for the solicitor report, Mr. Gibbs.
I have bad internet. Good evening, everyone. How are you? Next week, council will be voting on the McNamee Court project. The engineer has been working with their engineer. I've been working with their attorney, and we are on track to ask council's approval next week for the McNamee Court land project that we need final approval for. Also, we are having an ordinance next week addressing parking permits and allowing council by resolution to institute parking permits for areas that we've discussed in other caucus meetings and other council meetings. The chief brought it back up today, and we will go from there. And we will have an ordinance, we will have a vote next week, and those are the two main legal issues that I can discuss in public. With that, Madam President, I will ask to be excused if there are no questions.
Thank you. Mr. Gibbs, for the public, please explain the procedure for disrupting a meeting and that I am acting within my capacity as president and who is charged with keeping order to ask that
the rules of council that council passed enable the council president to keep order. We will have, that's what the rules say. The rules allow for members to be asked to cooperate with the process. And in the Zoom world, I don't know how it works other than the processes that you are employing.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I do remember you saying the tax collector was not available for this meeting. Does anyone have a report in Ms. James' stead, or will she be presenting her report at our legislative session?
Ms. Nichols will be presenting her report on her behalf at this time.
Good evening, Madam President.
Good evening, Ms.
For the month of April, borough taxes collected from 152 parcels. Real estate collected $123,253.02. Trash, $32,240. sewer, $55,233.51, for a total of $210,726.53. Through the month of April, 92% of taxes were collected. That ends the tax collector's report.
Thank you. I am going to ask that you allow Councilor Jones Waters and Councilor Roadcloud to redeem themselves by coming back into the meeting and showing that they can participate with the rules of order. Please let me know when they've been readmitted.
I do not see them as attendees.
So they've left the meeting completely?
Most likely, but I don't see their names.
I see Jones Waters. There's a TJ under Sandra Wright and Sandy.
Councilor Jones Waters, are you willing to comply with the rules of council so we can continue with your presence in this meeting? Councilor Jones Waters? Okay, can we mute Councilor Jones Waters? Doesn't sound like she's present. We will move on to our engineers report. Eileen Mulvaney.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have quite a few updates. So last month I spoke about a sanitary sewer issue on Union Avenue between Providence and Lincoln. So next week I'll be asking for authorization to have the contractor make the replacement. And the estimate for that is about $135,000. I did meet with the contractor, the storm sewer contractor today at Parkview and Manor. There is a storm sewer that runs through someone's property and it's eroding the rear of the yard. We kind of have an idea of what we could do. I don't have a price yet. We're going to wait for a heavy storm event to see if we can exactly see what's happening there. And I'll have more information for you once we get to witness it. Garjoul is back on Penvest work over on West Cobbs. He's been doing some trench restoration there. And we did get a quote from Holophane for lighting for the parking lot at the Borough Hall. I'll need to have more understanding of any potential changes that may be going on before council moves forward with this. But if there is money for it and the estimate is about $42,000. Currently, the post lights that are in the rear are wired aerially. They go from one light to the other in the overhead. And we're proposing that you actually run that underground. So that is included in the estimate. The Borough Hall roof, we did receive a plans and specs from the architect for the creation of a door through the third floor lunchroom and then a stairwell going down to that roof section where the HVAC units are. So I'll be looking for a motion next week for authorization to prepare the bids. And that estimate is somewhere between $40,000 and $42,000. The roof leak, we are having a debate between the contractor and us. So we're the third-party inspector that was on the job is getting involved, and we're going to be trying to discuss that with him. We were supposed to be getting a report from the contractor and have not yet received it, but we're thinking that the work should have been done as part of their contract. So we'll work on that and get back to you with updates. The surveillance cameras, you have Signal Service has completed their field readings and they're preparing their report, and they expect to have that to us next week sometime. The National Fitness Campaign, we are going to be asking for authorization to go out for bid for the equipment. It's probably around $130,000 for the equipment. The other item is for that fitness court is that there has to be a concrete slab poured, and you already authorized going out for bid for quotes for that, and we'll have that recommendation for you next week. 728 Yeadon Avenue. We were preparing that grant application. We're not sure if there is a owner of record who has been served. Apparently if Rufus is on, I'm not sure if he is, but if the last we knew is that they were served back in 2019 and the notice was returned, and apparently that owner is deceased. So we're either looking for the solicitor to tell us what to do on that in that event, or we need to find out who the next owner is so that the proper owner can be served. And the other thing on that is that the judicial sale was held today. Nafis is going to see if he can find out if anyone purchased it. If they did, then we can serve the new owner the notice. And
Eileen, you're correct. It was served, and that is, she is the last person who actually is the rightful owner, is the one who passed away.
right, so the law is that you must serve an owner, a living owner.
Right.
If you're dead, you're no longer the owner. I'm just explaining that to council. So we do need to find either an appropriate person to serve, or hopefully someone purchased it and we can serve that owner. And as discussed, I did meet with the engineer today from, I understand you say McKemmy now. I've been saying it incorrectly, with the McKemmy Court project, and we went over the comments, and I believe they're going to be prepared to accept all the conditions of the engineer's review as well as the Delaware County Planning Commission. So that would be part of the motion for the approval. I do want to bring up that we still have zoning questions that have to be answered. And I just feel like these guys have waited. I'm going to just go on the record and say this, that they've been waiting for months for us to get this approval in front of council. And I really feel like we need help on the zoning. We don't do zoning. It's done by others. And there's just still some questions. And I just hope that within the next week, we can get those resolved. And that's it.
All right, thank you very much. We will move on to our finance report.
Good evening. Nothing additional, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Cave. Ordinance and zoning, Mr. Stokes or Councilor Johnson.
That would come from Mr. Stokes.
Good evening.
Oh.
Good evening.
The April 2021 code report, the new inspector has been learning. He has been doing the process of learning and issuing violations and warning notices. There has been no zoning or zoning hearing applications. Zoning use applications, we had 3, 555 Bailey Road. We have a new printer company that took over from Fineos. They got approved for a sign. 900 Yeadon Avenue. The gentleman wants to put a ground level patio. It was approved. 20 Elder Avenue. Fence around the property, that was approved. We have several hot spots. Chester Avenue SEPTA trolley loop with graffiti. SEPTA was notified by code. Public Works and by Councilor Roadcloud reference to the graffiti issue. We also have other locations throughout the borough of reference to graffiti. I know in the county it has been a problem in the last couple of months. Collindale had some also. 700 block of Church Lane Business District, we're still having some issues with the rear trash. Inspector Wormley is monitoring that properties. Trash issues at several apartment complexes, Washington Woods, Revere Crossing, and Parkview Court. All the inspectors are monitoring those areas. We have some action items. The McDade Shopping Center, Inspector White and myself met with the property owner of the one side, which is the McDade Avenue side, in reference to scheduling a cleanup and other minor issues. Myself, Mr. Wilkins, met with the Holy Cross Cemetery in reference to the issues with the trees that are falling behind the homes on Yeadon and Rundle Avenue. They told us that when we get a call, to give them a call and they'll come and take care of the tree issues. Parkview Court Apartment had a sewer issue. Eileen spoke of that already, I think. They were repairing it. The Code Department and Public Works was monitoring that area. We had a tree fall on Bullock Avenue. The property owner removed the tree. The Code Department was monitoring that. The borough does need to reappoint the Planning Commission members or appoint new members, because as of now, who was on the Planning Commission, we do not have them anymore. We are compiling a list of properties throughout the borough with sidewalk issues. As of today, we have about 50 different properties throughout the borough that has sidewalk issues, and we are getting ready to send out letters to them to repair it. Closed items, Grace Court apartment inspections was completed. Upcoming items, rental apartments for all the apartments started. The McAmee Senior Housing Facility, the contractor called to get information on the permits and the permit costs. Again, the major sewer issue that was on Parkview is actually being taken care of by the property owner, and Code and Highway was monitoring. For 2021, the property maintenance abatement total was $5,332.96. And for the code revenue for April 2021, the total was $42,870.14. And the last, we have a list of all the violation notices and inspections that we give. I think all council have that list. That completes the code report.
I have a question regarding the code report.
I'm sorry.
Councilor Roadcloud, thank you for rejoining us. Before we continue, I just want to make sure that I have your understanding that we're going to follow the rules of council if you're going to continue to be an active part of our meeting. Can I count on you for that?
Can I count on you for that?
Oh, Jesus.
Christ.
Councilor Roadcloud, I'm going to ask before we acknowledge you to ask a question.
I have a question for code. You want to let me ask the question or you're not?
Councilor Roadcloud.
Let's not waste time.
Councilor Roadcloud.
I don't need a dissertation. I have a question for code. Can I ask the question or not?
Councilor Roadcloud, I am asking to make sure that you understand that you are expected to observe the rules of council. So the rules. Would you like me to explain to you the rules of council?
No, I would like to ask a question of code.
Madam President, I know that this is difficult for you, but I do think that you should let her ask her question so we can move on.
I absolutely will, but I want to make sure that we're going to continue to respect the public.
She's giving you consent by her presence.
Well, thank you for that explanation, Councilor Dr. McCabe. I'm going to accept your participation as agreement that you will continue to follow the rules of council. So, Councilor Roadcloud, what is your question?
Director Stokes, good evening.
Yes.
My question is with respect to the 728 property. I'm not sure exactly what conversations took place regarding that property because I was sitting in the corner. Now that I'm out the corner, specifically, I want to know whether or not you had an opportunity to discuss with Ms. Mulvana the removal of the rental fence that we have been running for the past 3 years to go around that property.
No, I was not able to talk to her in reference to the removal of the fence. I did talk to Mr. Wilkins, who said that we should be able to have Mellon come and get the fence that is no longer needed around the property. So we told us need to give them a call.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you, okay. All right. I think that was it. Oh, the fence in the 400 block of Cypress Street. You know, it's a dead end block and it is adjacent to the train tracks and the fence is knocked over. So of course that poses a safety hazard, of course. We're scheduled to hear something back from SEPTA. Do we have a direct contact? Because I'm afraid that SEPTA is going to slow walk. And I think this issue is very important to have resolved because that is a residential area and there's a few children who live on that block.
That is correct. I actually have an email back from Mr. Robert Kent, who is the Constitutional Relation Coordinator for SEPTA. He responded back to me today that he passed that information on to the maintenance department that handles that for SEPTA, and he will get back to me as soon as he gets an answer back from them and when they're going to come out.
Okay, well, I would just ask you keep a tight diary on that because it makes me nervous. I mean, we're talking about train tracks.
Yes, that was the same issue I had when I lived 2 doors away. People ran into the fence and it was never replaced quickly enough.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Madam
Mr.
President,
Stokes,
Madam President.
Dr. McCabe.
Yes, may I ask Mr. Stokes a question?
Thank you.
Mr. Stokes, I happened to take a walk on my block on Norma Road.
Yes.
And I noticed that there were 2 sidewalks that were blacktopped. And it's my understanding that blacktop is not appropriate.
It's not allowed. That's correct.
Okay, so I thought perhaps whoever's assigned to my area could, and maybe it's already on your list of sidewalks.
There is something on Norma Road on my list. I don't have it in front of me, but I know that I did type that up on the list that's on my computer at the office.
Okay. So
And
I
we
just
will
wanted to mention that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All righty.
All right, Director Stokes, does that conclude your report?
Yes, that completes my report, but I need to ask you, Madam President, I have another family meeting to go to. Will I be able to be dismissed?
Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So we will move on to Public Works. That would be Councilor Johnson or Director Wilkinson.
Director Wilkerson will give the report for Public Works.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Some quick announcements. Summer hours begin Tuesday, June 1st from 6. Our new hours will be 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Other upcoming events, we have an e-waste event Friday, May 28th from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. We also have a yard waste drop-off event on Friday, May 14th, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Grass cutting has begun at all of the borough plots that we maintain. We also mulched those plots as well. 21 yards of brown mulch was spread at the Borough Hall, the library, Freedom Circle, and all the tree plots along Church Lane. The cutting season has begun. Grass will be cut weekly and or bi-weekly, depending on how fast the grass is growing. During each visit, all debris will be removed, weeds will be pulled, sprayed, and any pruning will be done at that time. Over at Community Park, 108 yards of wood carpet was spread at Community Park underneath all the playgrounds and jungle gyms. Wood carpet was applied to assure users of the playgrounds are safe if they fall while using the equipment. Some facility notes: A to Z Glass Company replaced the 4 fogged windows in the atrium. In speaking with the technician, he stated that the windows are original to when the atrium was built, roughly 30 years ago. He said during that time, that's when to expect the window panes to start, kind of failing, the seals around them. So moving forward, we'll be replacing the windows as needed. The police cells have been repainted. Street dirt totals so far, 52.17 tons. Sanitary sewer, Union Avenue between Providence and Lincoln. Video footage was given to NBI for review. The 1200 block of Angora, there is a sinkhole in the street. Footage was obtained and given to NBI for review. There's a storm line issue on Whippy and Ruskin that was indicated by a sinkhole, and 100 Elder Avenue that was resolved by the Public Works Department. Highway maintenance, some things we completed during the month. Our overhead sign project, at all the major intersections on the street lights or traffic lights, excuse me. Locations completed: Church and Bailey, Church and McDade, Church and Chester. Additional signs have been ordered and will be picked up tomorrow for the following locations to be completed: Lansdowne and Providence, Lansdowne and Bailey, and McDade and Bell. All remaining intersections will be completed next year in 2022. Potholes are being patched and repaired as they arise. Please contact the Public Works Department if you see a pothole. Let's see. Monthly routine inspections on all parking meters were performed around the borough, and all monthly routine checks were performed on the borough fleet of vehicles. And that sums up our April. Questions?
I have a question for Public Works.
Councilor Roll Call.
Good evening, Mr. Wilkinson.
Good evening. How you
Looks
doing?
like I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Thank you for letting me know that. Director Stokes, he left the meeting, but there is a sinkhole in the apartment complex on Church Lane. I believe it's
Washington Woods.
Yeah, yes. So Director Stokes said that that sinkhole occurred because of some sort of collapsed pipe on the property.
So that could be a possibility. We do not have footage of it. With it being on their property, more than likely it's their line that feeds into our storm inlet. There's nothing on my storm map that indicates we have any lines on their property.
Right. So my question was, if that is the case, would that affect any of the borough's property as a result, or infrastructure that's adjacent to that defect?
No, it shouldn't. You know, because it's separate to our. It's a separate line that feeds into our main storm system.
Okay. So
without seeing any video footage, there's no way to tell. So I would need video footage from the storm line in the parking lot. So the owner of that complex would have to obtain that.
Okay. So code would have to reach out to the owner and explain that to him so that he can get a plumber out there to take some footage, correct?
That would be correct.
Okay. Okay.
Do we know that, Madam President, may I speak?
Councilor Johnson.
Do we know that code have not reached out to them?
I don't think we do, but Jeff, are you able to reach out to and collaborate with Mr. Stokes since he had to jump off of the call?
Yeah, that's not a problem.
All right, thank you so much. Does that conclude your report?
Yes, it does.
May I ask a question, Madam President?
Councilor Kate.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that I live on Norma Road. I guess everybody knows that by now. And there was some work done about maybe 5 houses from me. And it hasn't been complete. The blacktop has not been complete. Do you know about that? Do you know about that work?
No, I do not know offhand of that work. I'd have to check my street work log.
I don't know I don't know who it was, whether it was electric or water or gas, but you know, they covered it back up, the whole up, but the blacktop has not been put on top of it. And there are a couple of other places where there are like potholes that need to be taken care of on Norma Road.
So if they were digging in the street, the contractor's probably waiting for any work that they did underground to kind of settle, and then they'll kind of come back and do final restoration. So
I just don't want them to wait until the weather changes and to the cold, and then they say, "Oh, we can't do it because it's cold." That's what we hear all the time.
Okay, yeah. Tomorrow I'll check my street work log, see who was working over there, and try to get a hold of them and kind of see what their timeline is.
Thank you.
Yep, not a problem.
I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now we'll move on to our public safety report. Mayor Hopkins.
Thank you, Madam President. The Public Safety Committee met via Zoom on in April. Reading my notes here. On Saturday, April 4th, the next public safety meeting will be Saturday, May 29th. We had no action items there, and it's my report unless Councilor McCabe has anything to add before we go to the chief.
You've taken care of it, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, then I'll give way to.
I actually have a question.
Councilor Rowe-Cloud.
With respect to the Civil Service Commission, we still do not have a full board. When do we expect to appoint individuals so that we can have a functioning Civil Service Commission?
So I'll take that if you don't mind, Mayor.
Sure.
I just had a conversation with management. We do have several board appointments that we need to handle, so we will be handling those in our June and July meetings. We'll open up the applications for the vacancies, and that's a decision of council.
I just didn't know what the delay was, but I guess it's not that important. Thank you.
As a matter of fact, we don't have a need to hire police officers at the moment. A list has been established, and the chief will let us know when he needs to convene the Civil Service Commission in order to establish another list. That would, but we will have the appointments done prior to that. But thank you for bringing it to our attention. Mayor?
Yeah, well, Chief, do you have a report?
I do, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. A couple things to report. I had a meeting once this past Saturday with members of the public in reference to the Church Lane corridor that we're currently working on. We have several things going on with PennDOT. PennDOT was actually present during this meeting, and they actually referenced a letter that I sent detailing the concerns for the area of Church Lane, as well as along the corridor of West Cobbs going into the city on 65th Street and Chester Avenue. There are various things that are that have been implemented with the addition of increased signage, speed enforcement signs, the use of our speed timing device to alert speeding motorists. The changes to the intersection at Church and Bailey are currently being reviewed, that have been approved by PennDOT, and they are working with me on other traffic calming procedures along Church Lane. Hopefully within the next week or so, you should potentially see some line painting along Church Lane that will visually, as I've described in some of the previous council meetings, it will visually force motorists to slow down as it appears that they're driving down a smaller area of the roadway. We've had some accidents along that roadway over the past months that were, again, DUI related. Ran some traffic enforcement on the weekend, and as a result, we had several arrests for impaired driving. Hopefully those arrests prevented accidents from occurring along that street, because I'm aware of the agony, for lack of a better word, that the residents are dealing with down there with traffic accidents from impaired drivers. My Zoom Good Morning Yeadon was a nice turnout for the last one, which was in April the 20th, I think it was. The next one is Tuesday, May 25th at 11 o'clock. If you get a chance to tune into that, I'm going to have a gentleman on the show that day. His name is Gleno Foxworth. Him and I have formed a very unique friendship that is something truly beautiful to behold. Honestly, our friendship developed as a result of a police complaint he had last year. And since that time, him and I have become very good friends. And I think the interaction that we'll have that day will be something that a lot of people should not miss. So May 25th at 11 a.m. The Love Garden process, I want to apologize for, I was kind of running around with my head cut off in the past couple of weeks, doing a lot of legwork related to it. I had alerted the press because I wanted to have positive press for Yeadon and the police department to show the difference that's going on in this community with the police department and the residents. So I'll take the hit on not notifying everybody. I went through Nextdoor, and honestly, when I see some individuals on Nextdoor following my post, I take for granted that everybody knows, and I will not let that happen again in the future. I apologize for that. At the end of the day, it was a very good groundbreaking. Numerous residents, numerous police officers from the borough were there. I applaud those officers for coming out on their own to participate in that. And as a result, we have obtained about $2,500 in donations from various businesses that donated either money and or equipment to help us break up the soil. I am now working with Roy Hunter in the Recreation Department, also using Penn State University. They're going to be doing some testing of the soil for us to make sure everything's good in the dirt, and whether or not we need to make any kind of changes to the dirt composition, for lack of a better word, fertilizer or anything along that line. In the interim, I'm buying equipment so that individuals, when they come and we begin the process of actually putting seeds in the ground, we'll have enough equipment that if you don't have your own, we'll have it for you. So that stuff's coming. I use Nextdoor a lot in posting to the public because I seem to have a really far reach there. But as I proceed with the additional details of the park, I will send everyone an email related to it. So if you want to participate, you can. And with that being said, I have nothing else unless anybody has a question.
No, just want to say good work, Chief.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you all. So I don't see our fire chief.
Madam President.
Councilor McCabe.
May I mention something to the chief?
Thank you.
Chief, I'm not on Nextdoor Neighbor. So if there's a way that you could get that message to me when something like that's going to happen. I didn't know about it until tonight when it was brought up in discussion. So I would definitely have been there if I had known about it.
Yeah, my apologies. And in the future, for any events or services related to the police department, I'll send like a mass market email to all the counselors and staff within the borough.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief. So we will move on to our recreation report with Councilor Francis.
Good evening, Madam President. Good evening, everybody. I just want to piggyback with the borough manager had mentioned and the mayor. The engineering. We're excited about the National Fitness Campaign grant, and I want to thank all those who are working on that. The second thing, for Flag Day, we're still staying the course. We're going to be working, we are working on a virtual program for Flag Day. As the mayor said, even though every day we see something changing, there's still the uncertainty, and we need to err on the side of caution. There will be further updates and forthcoming with the date and how this is going to be done. So ends my report, Madam President.
Thank you so much, Councilor Francis.
Madam President, I'm so sorry I have so many things to ask this time, but could I ask, could you tell us about the grant? I didn't know about the grant.
The grant, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Borough Manager, it's a grant that they've given, that we've got to work on. We have to contribute a part of it, and it's called the National Fitness Campaign, and they applied for it. So we accepted that, but we have to send letters out. We're sending letters out to our businesses to help with this. We're also, the mayor is going to sign, if he hasn't, a letter for corporate sponsorship.
And the primary reason, right, was to update the exercise equipment at Community Park, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's that same one. I should have
That's
done with
that's what I
document.
wanted to know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's for.
Okay, and will we have indoor exercise equipment too?
So no,
Just
this is
to-
all outdoor at the park. That's
All
currently
outdoor?
the
Oh,
equipment
'cause-
there is over. I think they said at least 25 years old. So it's yeah. Sorry, Councilor Francis.
But I would just like to suggest that we need some place to have indoor exercise equipment, because we have a lot of people who, for one reason or another, it could be age, it could be just living a sedentary lifestyle, need to have some exercise equipment. And I know we have the senior center and all that, but some people just want to come and exercise. They aren't qualified to be seniors.
Well, we're still working with that rec center, Councilor. We still want to get that. If not, we'll ask Jeff to help build a little building over there.
And we got some space around this council somewhere.
Yeah, we got some space. All right. So that's my report.
Yeah, Madam President, real quick.
Mayor Hopkins?
Yeah, to your point, while you're talking about it, I was at the borough today, Councilor Francis. We did update the letter. They're reformatting it, and it'll go out tomorrow to the businesses.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right.
I have a question.
Councilor Road Cloud.
How much money are we trying to, what is our responsibility financially with respect to this grant?
Would someone from management be able to answer that question?
So we're responsible for the entire amount needed, less the 30,000 that we have been granted. So we're fundraising to hopefully bridge the gap or fully cover the rest of the amount. The full amount could be about 185,000. It depends on what the bids come in at and how much the work is going to be. But the estimate, most likely, based on the estimate and past experience from this company, it'll probably come in at about 185 at the base model. So we already have 30 of that 185, so that will leave about 155 to raise.
So if we do not get enough funding via donations, we're on the hook for that 155.
Yes.
For the outdoor playground equipment. Exercise.
Well, yes and no, because there is a DCNR grant. So the backup plan is, for some reason, if we're not able to fundraise enough money, that we could essentially use the DCNR grant to cover, which was that the initiative for the DCNR grant was to update that equipment. However, we're working very hard to raise this money, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to do so. There was discussion from the engineer and with Public Works about them installing and saving money that way. However, the solicitor advised us that we actually have to bid the grant instead. So we thought we were going to have a little bit of savings. And again, I don't know what the bids will come at. Ms. Malvina would be better able to say as far as that. But my understanding as far as the business model, the overall amount is about 185. We were given 30,000 of that, so that will leave us with 155 to raise.
Could I make a comment about the fitness campaign equipment?
Yes,
So
thank you.
The solicitor did say that we needed to bid for the equipment. We were asking him if the borough could just purchase the equipment. The plan is still to have the Public Works Department install the equipment with a representative from the equipment company there to supervise. So there will be savings. We don't have to, it's just the bidding of the actual equipment itself that has to be done.
All right, thank you for that, Eileen. So without further ado, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Madam President. You got three
Thank
of them.
you.
I'll take second.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for coming out.
Good night.